Hallelujah. Thank God. Let me have this opportunity to share with you the 10 basic beliefs. And for this week, I'm going to share with you about the Sabbath and also about the second coming of Jesus Christ. And then I also have a class. They will be talking about the seven feasts recorded in the Old Testament. Okay, now before the class begins, I think I will make a quick self-introduction. And maybe most of you remember me, but I think it's good to have my self-introduction. Okay, my Chinese name is that's my Chinese name, and because it is a bit difficult for Americans, so one of my father-in-law's friend gave me this name. And that's Sean Yan, and that's, as far as I know, that's an Irish name. So after that, I become Irish Chinese. Okay, so you may call me, just call me Sean, or call me Brother Sean, or call me Brother Yang. That's okay. Okay. All right. So So then let's get into the topic. So today we're talking about Sabbath. Okay, so I think many of you already heard about Sabbath, and many of you already keeping Sabbath. But maybe some of you keeping Sabbath in a bit unwilling way because you think that, oh, this is a rule, this is something, a regulation, and I must go and I must obey. So that you kind of unwillingly go to the Sabbath service. But some of you may be very happy because Sabbath day, you can go there. You don't need to worry about your homework. And then you can see your beloved brothers, sisters. And then you can have fun with them after maybe the IE classes. And even now, today, the IE classes, we have many activities so that you may also feel that it is a great enjoyment of the Sabbath day. Okay, and of course, that's wonderful for you. However, so we want to have some understanding or better understanding about Sabbath. Where did Sabbath come from? What's the meaning of Sabbath? Okay, and maybe some of you already heard that before. I hope we can get it a bit more detail, and of course, in accordance to the Bible. Okay, first of all, the word Sabbath. The reason I get into this because I think you are J2, right? You supposedly know better than J1. You have more knowledge. You probably more interested in understanding the word and the meaning, and you guys already starting to be able to do some research because you are preparing yourself for the college, for the university, right? So in a university, the professor there were expecting that you already been trained, able to do some research by yourself. and able to find out the meaning of each different word. And you are able to do some research or analyze on a word, right? Because we use the word to communicate with each other. So if you cannot properly use the word, you won't be able to properly communicate with each other, right? And of course, now today, because of the computer, because of the speed, we are developing new words. Like some people, they try to simplify the word because they need to text it, right? And they need to be fast. What is that? The cell phone are so small, the keyboard are so small, so you try to simplify it. So YOU is no longer YOU, but you, right? So there's some example. However, the thing is, to study the word, they will allow you to understand the origin of the word, why this word come out this way, and why it's spelled this way. And then by studying that, you can have a better understanding when you are using the word, right? And then you will be careful on picking up which word that you use to communicate your thought and your idea. It will become more and more important, especially once you're starting to grow up and starting to work in the society. Okay, so the first thing we will talk about is this word, Sabbath. This is in English, okay? But this word actually coming from, the origin came from Hebrew, okay? And I'm not going to write Hebrew because I'm not very good at writing Hebrew anyway. But I will just write you the pronunciation of the Hebrew. Okay, so in Hebrew, it is just Shabbat. So Hebrew, usually the accent is on the last vowel. Okay, so the Shabbat. Okay, and the meaning of this word, it is usually, you can understand it from a verb. So usually the root of the Hebrew word, they have the root of the verb. And so it came from this meaning. So the meaning of that word is rest or stop or cease, okay? And so let's take a look at where these Shabbat or Sabbath are coming from the Bible. So let's take a look at the Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2. Starting from Genesis chapter 2, from verse 1 to verse 3. Okay, let's read together. I should use the New King James. Okay. Verse 2, chapter 2, verse 1. Thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. Verse 2. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Verse 3. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Okay. So what you see here, the word rested, right? So there's something to do with Sabbath, Shabbat. That's the original of the word that it comes from. Okay, and then here we see two things that God did to the day. Which two things? In here, in the Bible. Verse 1 to 3. What did God do? What did God do? Huh? He rested, okay, and then? Huh? He sanctified, okay? And also, there's another word, blessed, okay? So, here, rest, right? And then he blessed, he also sanctified the day. Now, rest, we know that it seems like rest means the sea is stopped. Don't do nothing, right? Seems like that way, right? And then blessed. What's the meaning of blessed? Huh? Anybody able to think about that? Oh, you are so blessed. You are so blessed. God bless you. What does that mean? Huh? It means something good, right? Something good upon you, right? So it's a day of blessed. And then it is sanctified. What does sanctified mean? What does sanctified mean? What? Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, sanctify. Sanctify means separated. Separate for what? Right? For God. So it means that when you separate for God, means that it is different from this world. Because God is not from this world, right? God created this world. So set it apart. Okay, so this is a day, actually, God set it apart for himself. That's his day. That's his rest. Okay? And this day is also a blessed day. So he filled with a blessing. Okay? So this is the idea of Sabbath. So when you think about this, what would you feel about Sabbath? How do you feel about Sabbath? Is it a very painful day that I cannot watch TV, I cannot play video game, I cannot go out to do whatever I like, and I have to go to church? Or it is a wonderful, joyful day that because I can go to church, I can go to draw near to God. I can go there and to have a fellowship with brothers and sisters. Yeah. How do you feel? So that's the thing that we need to think about when we come to this Sabbath day. Okay, and of course this day is a very interesting day too. Okay, I don't know if you ever compare with the Genesis chapter 1. In Genesis chapter 1, every day concluded with a sentence. What is that? Okay, that's one. What's the other? Always ended one sentence. So it always ended with evening, morning, and which day, right? It always ended that. However, if you look at the seventh day, do you see that? Do you see that ending? There's no ending, right? We just see that God sanctified him, God blessed it, God rested. And the seventh day. Did he mention when the seventh day start? It does, when the creations are completed. Right? All right, so that's a very interesting day. And so there's no mentions of Sabbath day in Genesis, right? You can do a search. When you guys have access to the internet, maybe after you go home, after finish this SSC, you can go to our bible.tjc.org, right? That's one website that we created. Then you can go to do a search on Sabbath to see which verse come out first, okay? And then you will see, then you will wonder, why Sabbath is such a wonderful day and it never exists in Genesis, right? Why is like that? Okay, so I guess that will be the homework for you after you finish your SSC, yeah, for you to do the research. I trust that you can do the research. Okay. Okay. So when did the Sabbath mentioned? Actually, that's the next thing that I'm going to talk about. Right? The first time the Sabbath day is mentioned is recorded in the Exodus chapter 16. Okay, let's go to Exodus chapter 16. I guess your homework is basically to confirm that what I say is correct, because, right, you need to be able to discern. Okay, in the Exodus chapter 16, let's take a look at the 16:29. Here says, "See, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath before he gives you on the 6 days bread for 2 days, that every man remain in his place, that no man go out of his place on the 7th day." Okay, so here it mentioned the Sabbath. Actually, this word also, you can see that on the verse 23 as well. Right? So in chapter 16, you started to see the Sabbath day. And then if we read the detail of the Exodus chapter 16, we see that it is when the Israel people, they were in the desert for about 1 month. And after 1 month, they become hungry because they do not have any food to eat. I guess everybody remember the story about Exodus, right? Anybody never heard about it before? So I don't need to repeat too much, right? Okay. So they came out of Egypt, they passed the Red Sea, and then they went into the wilderness. And of course, when they exit Egypt, right, they did not carry too many things, right, because they were in a hurry, right? And then so they carry something with them, which are the unleavened bread. So they carry the unleavened bread with them, and so they eat it throughout the journey before they reach the Mount Sinai. So after 1 month traveling in the wilderness, they finish all their food that brought out of the Egypt. And so they become to grumbling about they were hungry, they have no food, right? So then God appeared to them, right? And then God tell them he will rain down the bread. Okay, so this is let's take a look at the Exodus 16, verse 4. Verse 4, then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not. Verse 5, and it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Okay, so here God tells them that I will rain down the bread from the heavens, and so they can have food to eat. However, there's a rule, right? There's a rule, okay? So verse 5 say that 6 days, right? Every day, right? Every day they are going to collect a certain quota. And later we will see that actually that quota, it came out to be 1 omer, right? And then here say that in verse 4, almost the end, say that I may test them whether they will walk in my law or not. So this is also a test. Giving them bread to eat is a test. However, the testing rule is very interesting because here say that verse 5, it shall be on the 6th day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. Okay, so here say that on the 6th day, they will prepare what they bring in. Right? They will prepare what they bring in. Okay, and here it doesn't say that they will need to bring in more. Right? Here did not make any amendment that they can bring more than every other days. Okay, or they have to bring more than every other days. There's no such a description here. It only says that on the 6th day that they shall prepare whatever they bring in, right? And something will happen, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So whatever they bring in every day, the same thing they bring in on the 6th day, but when they are prepared, it shall become twice as much, right? How could that be, right? How could that be? Huh? You bring in, you prepare, and it become twice. Like you prepare, you purchase a 1 pound of flour, and then you prepare it, and then suddenly after you finish, it becomes 2 pounds of flour. Is that possible? Right? So of course, for a normal people, it would think that unbelievable, very difficult to imagine. But this is what God told them. Right? And so that's why it is a test. And this is a test because you are doing it in your life. You are actually doing it. Right? It is not just in your mind, in your heart, and then you practice that in your life somewhere outside. Nobody see it. But here is you gather it, you see how much you gather, and then you prepare it, and then you see it change. You see it become twice. Not just you see it, all the Israel people who obey it will see it. Everybody will see it. Right, so that's a test. Okay, and then later Moses tell them what's the reason, because the 7th day will be the Sabbath day, a day of rest. So on the Sabbath day, you do not need to you do not go out to collect or go to the field to collect the food, right? To collect the manna, because what you are going to have. So then you will see the purpose of why on the 6th day when you prepare it, it becomes twice as much as you collected, because that extra part, the extra portions, is for the next day, for the seventh day. Right? So on the seventh day, so that's why you can see that on the seventh day, why you don't need to label. Because God prepared for you on the sixth day, at least for the Israel people when they were in the wilderness. God prepared them on the sixth day, a portion ready for the Sabbath. So on the Sabbath, they can rest. They don't need to labor. Right? And they can gather together and worship God. Okay. So that's how God given them the Sabbath. So that's why on the verse 29, we saw that the sentence, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he gives you on the sixth day bread. Bread for 2 days. Right? So that's a blessing. So Sabbath day is a blessing. It's a day of blessing. Right? And then also this day is also God's day. A day belongs to God. Remember we just read earlier in the Genesis chapter 2. Right? He rested, he blessed it, he sanctified it, and that's his rest. His rest. So that's his Sabbath. Okay. And then now on the Exodus, here we can see that our Lord has given the Sabbath to us. And then we may ask the question, why? Why do we need Sabbath? Anybody know? Why do we need Sabbath? I'm happy every day, right? I have food to eat. I have a nice house to live. Go to school, maybe with friends, with school bus. Every day seems to be fine. Watching TV, play games, go shopping. Right? Every day wonderful. Why do I need an extra Sabbath day? Why? Ever think about that? Yeah, Sabbath day is the rest day, so you can rest, no problem. Okay. You are here for a Sabbath, do you know that? Anyway. So why do I need a Sabbath? To remember God's word. Okay, yes, this is in the Exodus chapter 20, verse 8 through 12. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, let's take a look at Genesis chapter 3. I think Genesis chapter 3. What happened in the Genesis chapter 3? Anybody can tell me? What happened in Genesis chapter 3? Anybody? Anybody other than the sister? I forgot your name. Katie. Anybody wanted to remember? What happened in Genesis chapter 3? Huh? Oh, no? Nobody? Huh? Brothers, one day one of you, and must stand here and teach. So, and then when you are standing here, teach, you ask a question. Do you expect anybody to answer you? I think you were happy to hear somebody answer you, right? Justin. Okay, and then? Oh, okay. Okay, so he mentioned the beginning and the end. Okay, very good. But he did not mention the middle. Right? Okay, yes. So basically, that's the reasons. Adam and Eve, our ancestor, the first mankind, they were deceived by the serpent, and so they sinned, and then so the result, they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. Okay, but there are some things that we will need to know, right? So in the Garden of Eden, What do they do there? How do they survive there? How do they survive in the Garden of Eden? Huh? They eat fruit. So God said that all the fruit, so they just pick the fruit and they eat it. Pick the fruit and then eat it. Right? So that's their life. Right? But I guess right nowadays we probably don't think about it. But I guess you know that a lot of our food coming from where? What? Our food come from where? Supermarket? Cow? Okay. You only eat meat? And what? Garden. Okay. So you have a garden, you have cow, you must have farmers, right? Yeah. And then what do? What do they have to do? They have to till the ground, right? They have to work on the ground in order to grow the produce, which can be shipped to the supermarket and then can come to your table, right? So it's still, that means that somebody has to do the labor to work on the land. So you can see the difference, right? At the time of Adam and Eve, they live in Garden of Eden. They don't need to labor to till the ground. The tree will bear the fruit. They just pick the fruit and they eat it. That's it. So their life is pretty comfortable and easy. And then we can say that they are in the rest, not really sleeping, but they are in the rest. That's their life. And so let's see what happened that caused our life to become a bit more difficult than Adam and Eve. Okay, so let's take a look at Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. Genesis chapter 3, verse 16. All right, verse 16, here he says that to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply your sorrow and your conceptions. In pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be for your husband, and he shall rule over you. Okay, so this is probably why today we have this woman right. They have to strive for it because of the sin. And this is also why it is so painful to give birth, to have children, because of the sin. Okay, and then 17, verse 17. 17, then to Adam he said, because you have heeded the voice of your wife and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, saying you shall not eat of it. Curse is on the ground for your sake. In toil you shall eat of it, and all the days of your life. This is the source. This is the reason why today we have to eat the produce from the ground, because of the sin. And the ground is also cursed. So we have to put a lot of effort and labor into it in order to get food to eat, to feed ourselves, for us to survive. And here say that all the days of your life means from the day you born to the day you die. Right? So verse 18, both thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the earth of the field. So you can see that there are thorns and thistles will grow to make it difficult. So that's why if you have a garden, you need to kill the weed, you need to clean the weed. Have you ever helped your parent to do the gardening or mow the lawn and try to keep the lawn looks nice and green, brothers or sisters? Right? If you have done those work, then you will understand that they are very Weed is very difficult to get rid of, right? And so that's why year-round, all year, you have to try to, if you want to keep a good garden, you want to keep a good, nice-looking lawn, right? You have to put a lot of effort to keep the weed out of your garden, keep the weed out of your lawn, right? And so this is why, because the human being sin. And 19, in the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you shall return. And this is this sentence. For dust you are, and to dust you shall return. I think we heard that so many times in a funeral. So that's how the people, the human being, they do not have a rest. They cannot rest, right? Because they have every day, day to day, they have to constantly work in order to feed themselves. Even though today many people do not go out to labor on the ground, but they doing something else in exchange for whatever grow on the ground. Is that right? You are laboring on something else. A lot of in the future, you guys going to graduate and you have to go out, and you guys need to survive. You need to work. You may doing computer work. You may doing the teaching. You may doing secretary. You may doing a businessman. You can be a successful CEO. However, no matter what, you still need to have the produce of the ground to put on your table so that you can have a healthy life, right? So that's where human being does not started not to have any rest. Okay, and then throughout the history in the Genesis, that's what it was. Okay, and then until the Exodus, right? God chose the Israel people. God brought them out of the Egypt, and then God gave them the Sabbath. Okay. So that they can have a day of rest every 7 days. Okay? But as you can see, there's a process, there's a procedure, and I should say that there's a sequence. God did not give them the Sabbath while they were in Egypt. God gave them the Sabbath after they were out of Egypt. They were in the wilderness. Okay, so they also give us something that we need to think about, because we all often use this Exodus to refer to our heavenly journey. Right. So here it's just basically mentioned that in order to have this Sabbath, actually, there's a sequence. There's something need to happen before. And the thing that, according to the Exodus, the thing is exit out of the Egypt. Right? You need to exit out of the Egypt. You need to go through the Red Sea, usually prefigure the water baptism. So that means that you need to believe in Jesus Christ, receive the water baptisms, which means that you become a people of God. And then, after that, then you receive manna, you receive the Sabbath. So Sabbath, now you have a different understanding about the Sabbath now. Sabbath is good for me. And only because you have a connection with God, therefore you have this Sabbath day to remember about. Okay? So, unless you don't want to be a God's people, then you can obviously forget about the Sabbath. Okay? But again, in the beginning, I also mentioned that God's rest, God's Sabbath in the Genesis chapter 2, when does it start? The finish of the work, the creation of the world. Right? And then it doesn't mention that there's an evening, there's a morning. So what does that mean? In the rest of God, in the Sabbath, what does that mean? Right? So in the Revelations, I hope that you may have heard about it, mentioned about it. In the Revelations, it mentioned about the holy city coming down from the heavens, and there is no night. Right? There's only day. And who is illuminating the city? Anybody know? Or heard about it? Huh? Area? No? Okay, I guess you need to read Revelation chapter 21, I think 21, 22. Okay, I will leave it to you because of time. Okay, but of course the answer should be very obviously, which is God, right? Because God is the light. All right. So that's the origins of the Sabbath and where it comes from and why we need Sabbath. Because after sin, we have to toil and labor. So God gives us the rest, His rest. Remember, that's His rest. And He gives to us, just like your parents give their best thing to you, to share with you, right? So you can enjoy. Right? Like your parents may give you their share of their house, right? So you can live in their house and have a good life in their house. Right? So this is a gift from God as well. And this is a blessed day, and this is a day that is separate for Him. So of course, that's why we need to separate this day for His sake, because He gave it to us. And separate means that we should not see it as an ordinary day. It means that every day is different from every day. Right? And then we can think about what can we do on this day? How do we appreciate this day? Okay, so we will probably talk about it in this afternoon's class. Any question? Okay, if you have any question, you can ask, or you can ask any time, or I guess we have a Q&A on Friday, right? On Friday is what I remember, right? Okay, and then so if you have any questions or any question in any class, you can write it up as well. Put into the whatever Q&A box. I guess we will prepare for that. Okay, and then so we will try to answer your questions as much as we can. Okay, so we will conclude this class. Do we have a prayer? Okay, and then do we have another person for the prayer session, right? Okay, all right. So let's kneel down and pray and give thanks to our Lord.